Welcome to the fourth episode of the ILCMA Local Gov Stories. I'm Jim Moran, along with Melanie Santostefano. Melanie, it's always great to see you.
Great to see you too, Jim.
And it's cool. Usually we talk about once a month on Zoom like this, but I got to see you in person last month at the IAMA annual conference out in Naperville at the NIU campus. And it was
Yeah,
awesome to see you did a great job.
thank
And
you.
And I figure before we get into our guest today, which by the way, we have two outstanding municipal managers on today that I'm very excited to present as part of this podcast.
Mhm.
But before we get to that, Melanie, let's talk a little bit about the talk you gave to us at IAMA.
Yeah, well, one, I just love the energy of IAMA. I just feel like these are people who are fine tuning their profession in order to rise to the top if that's what they choose to do. So there's a lot of energy and excitement just being there. What I did, just a quick snapshot, is right now we're working on a public information project for the village of Peatone, which really not a lot of people know about Peatone unless you live near it, but you might remember that an airport was potentially proposed there at one time. But they're doing a really awesome downtown streetscape project, which will be amazing when it's done. But it is going to take until end of construction season, which everybody knows is normally the end of November, weather permitting. That's something that we always put in parentheses, weather permitting. But just trying to make sure right now that the businesses in the downtown and people who would patronize the smaller businesses in this downtown know that they are open for business, and also helping the businesses with access communications, because if you can picture it, it's kind of a square downtown and the construction surrounds all the businesses, so it could be very threatening to their livelihood. So the public information piece leading up to it and all during, we do an update every single week for them, just letting people know what the schedule is, where the access points are. So name of the game is always just keep people informed, and they have less to complain about when they feel like they at least know what's happening or what's about to happen. So I just kind of did that quick case study for IAMA, and I think some people left with some good skills. So that's great.
Well, you did a great job. It's always, as a communications guy, I always love to sit in communication-focused municipal talks like you did. And one
Me
of the
too.
one of the key takeaways I hope everybody in the room walked away with is something I've always said for years is there's not any problem in government that can't be solved by good communication. I don't know if that's really true, but I'd like to
I
say
like the
it.
sound of that though.
But you touch on, this big public works project, redoing downtown. It's a great thing.
Hmm.
But during the project, people have a chance to get really aggravated when access to the store is blocked or whatever.
Yeah.
And by
Yeah.
staying ahead of the game with good communication,
Hmm.
it keeps everybody on board and excited to get through the project together. And it
Yeah.
helps drive people. One of the things you talked about was driving residents to support local businesses during the
Yes.
construction.
Yes, absolutely. And also not only making sure that these businesses can thrive as much as possible during it, but also helping people to see what will happen in the end, like drawing the picture of what it will be, which will be very beautiful. Peatone specifically is kind of an older downtown. They need new roads, they need new sidewalks and street lamps and benches and planters, just to kind of make the downtown more welcoming. So I think at the end of it, it'll be very exciting to see the end result. And we want to make sure that the residents and potential shoppers kind of know that this is temporary. Please pardon our dust, as we say. And just you can't wait to see what this will become. So that's an important point too.
Well, a very timely talk. This time of year, not only are we getting into the summer construction season, I know I'm up to my neck in grant applications for various infrastructure projects, and that's something almost every community is facing right now is aging infrastructure, which, by
Yes.
the way, is one of the topics at the ILCMA summer conference.
Yes.
Which, Melanie, you're on the summer conference committee, right?
Yes, yes, and I love what it's entitled, "A Fresh Approach to the Fundamentals," because that could apply to so many things. All the different pieces of local government, but even infrastructure. Everyone's taking a fresh approach and trying to build those fundamental building blocks of a town. But yeah, so I'm super excited for conference June 4th through 6th, and as everyone know, and you'll hear in Jim's interview with Phil Corrali, the summer conference chair. 4th, 5th, and 6th is a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So that's a little bit different. So at least everyone, if you're gonna register and do it soon, because I hear it's filling up, you can come back at least and have Friday to kind of get your bearings again after missing a few days of work and being with your colleagues. So make sure everyone to register ilcma.org/conferences.
Well, excellent. Well, that's a great segue into our first guest, Phil Corrali. And before we intro Phil, Melanie, you had a chance to talk with another village manager or city manager out in Rochelle, right?
Yes, Mr. Jeff Fiegenschuh. I always take care in pronouncing his name because it's longer than mine, and I think it's more complicated looking at it. Mine's a little more phonetic, and you kind of have to approach that name delicately. But Fiegenschuh is how you say it, and he has such a great story. I love his story, kind of getting into and moving around and to where his current position in local government. And also leadership is a big thing with Jeff. And I really respect how he leads his community. And we talked about some very unique aspects, which actually that'll come up. So we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Well, both our managers that are on the podcast today are two people whose communities I look to, that I follow on social media, that I think do an excellent job communicating to residents and stakeholders. I follow both communities, Rochelle and Glencoe, on social media quite a bit. And I can't say enough of the events they do, like out in Rochelle. The amount of events and quality events that they do are excellent. So I'm excited to hear your conversation with Jeff. But first, let's get to Phil. So Phil Corrali, the village manager of Glencoe. And by the way, I want to plug his social media if you have a chance to follow them on Facebook or LinkedIn, or Phil directly on LinkedIn. He does a great job communicating and engaging with people on social media. So follow that up. But here's our conversation with Phil Corrali, village manager of Glencoe, and also the ILCMA Summer Conference Chair. So coming up on June 4th is the ILCMA Summer Conference at the Eagle Ridge Resort and Spa in Galena, Illinois. The conference this year running a Tuesday through Thursday, that's June 4th through June 6th. Registration is now open on the ilcma.org website. And here to talk about the conference and kind of let us know what's going on with the conference, how to register, what to look forward to at the conference, and why we should go, is conference chair Phil Corrali. Phil, the village manager in Glencoe, thanks for coming on the podcast today.
Hey, Jim, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about this very exciting professional development event that we have coming up in just about a month. So yeah, lots going on. Lots going on.
So the conference, it's an exciting conference. I love the location this year. Galena is a very beautiful part of the state. But before we get into that, Phil, I wanted to just give an intro to you and also the village of Glencoe. So tell us a little bit about how long you've been in Glencoe and kind of what you do there.
Of course. So I'm in my 11th year as a village manager here in Glencoe. It's a small, very attractive, wonderful place on the North Shore of Chicago. And we are a really small but mighty team here in Glencoe, very wide-ranging in the work that we do, especially for a community our size. And I never cease to be impressed with my team and never cease to be bored because, excuse me, the opposite of that, that it is always busy here. Everything is happening all the time. We work hard in service to our community. We work hard in service to the profession too. I am currently the ILCMA president-elect, looking forward to the opportunity to serve our association as president starting in July. And I'm privileged to serve as the summer conference chair this year as well. It's a really exciting lineup. It's a really exciting opportunity to reconnect with colleagues and to do some fun things in a beautiful part of our state. So we're looking forward to June 4th to the 6th.
Phil, this year it's Tuesday through Thursday. Is that something that's new?
It's unique. Typically our conferences, both winter and summer, are Wednesday through Friday. It worked to try this at a winter conference a few years back, and we thought we'd try it with a summer conference as well, just to gauge how our members liked it, whether it was there was flexibility in the schedule. Some people like the ability to go back to the office at the end of the week. So we'll see. I'm glad to see registration is strong. We've got over 150 people registered already with still a month to go. Long way away from the record-setting attendance at this year's winter conference, where we had over 280 people show. I have lots of confidence that we're going to get to those numbers because we've got a great program for people.
I don't want to take all the credit, but ILCMA started a podcast in December, and boom, right away, record attendance in January.
Take the credit. Take the credit. Absolutely. Yes.
So how can folks register? And I believe in the past, ILCMA has had some scholarships available also, or at least discounts for first-time attendees.
Yeah. We've continued that process. It was very successful in the winter, where we actually doubled the size of the free registrations that are available. And we still have free registrations available for a couple of categories. So the person who's never attended a summer conference before, maybe they're new to the profession, maybe it's just never worked for their schedule before, maybe they couldn't make it work from a financial standpoint, but we do have those available. We also have available, in an effort to try to encourage some of our members who haven't been to a conference in a while, similar scholarships for those who haven't been for 5 years, haven't been to a summer conference for 5 years. So the opportunity to register is on ILCMA's website. It's ilcma.org/conferences. You can peruse the conference registration materials, including the full brochure and everything that's there. But you also can register and seek to get one of those scholarships. They are still available. I don't know how many there are still available, but I'd encourage folks to seek those out if you qualify for them.
So right away, hit up ilcma.org as soon as you can to register if that's something of interest to you. In a minute, Phil, I want to get into like some of the keynotes and some of the highlights of the conference as far as workshops go. But before we get into that, and kind of leading into that, if somebody is on the fence, maybe they've never been to summer conference before or a conference at all for ILCMA, why should they go?
So, Jim, I think in the 22 years that I've been in this profession, I've only missed maybe a handful of either winter or summer conferences in the aggregate. And I have a lot of people that say to me, why do you do that? And the answer I always give is, it is the most fun that I can have in the profession. I get to see my colleagues. I get to reconnect. I get to make new friends and acquaintances that I've perhaps seen names come across an email, or heard a great program that a community somewhere in the state has been working on, and I've never had the chance to meet that person. And it's a chance to put names and faces together. It's a chance to build relationships. That's so important in this profession. We are here to support one another. I think that's sometimes something that's easily forgotten, but we need that support. We need that help from our colleagues. This is a way to build that network, to build those connections. It's also just really good learning. It's condensed in a couple days. We've got a pre-conference session, and it runs all the way through kind of that last morning of the conference. And interestingly, this year we've got more conference sessions than we've had in any year, at least in the last 10 or so years. We have 10 sessions during Wednesday and Thursday. Normally we have 8. We couldn't, as a conference committee, decide which one to cut because the ideas for all of these sessions were just so good. And we've got speakers that are coming from all across the state, communities of all shapes and sizes, talking about pretty much everything, because the conference is focused this year on a fresh approach to the fundamentals. That's our tagline. Looking at what are we dealing with as managers, as assistants, as analysts, all the way through our organizations, and how can we do the work that we do better, more easily, more efficiently, more effectively, and how can we utilize the experiences of our colleagues to help us do that. So it's like everything all in one. It's a great event. You'll have a great time. It's beautiful. If you've never been to the Galena Territories and to the Eagle Ridge Resort itself, it is the prettiest part of the state. I would argue that with anybody. If you've never been to far northwestern Illinois, it is full of rolling hills, and you're kind of in the Mississippi River Valley, and it is just gorgeous. You have the chance to see Galena. If you've never seen the city of Galena, it is one of the most intact downtown areas that you're going to find anywhere in the Midwest. And you walk into it, and it's like stepping back in time, because it's just beautiful and quaint and adorable, and it's a fun place to be. So I love the conferences. I am always there. I have, as I said, missed only a few of them. I think this conference is no exception to that rule. It is going to be a great day, a great few days of learning.
So for me, one of the highlights of these conferences are the keynotes. A really great opportunity, not only for education and learning, but motivation. Who do we have on the docket as far as keynote speakers this year?
So we got some really thoughtful speakers, some that both that I'm really excited about, and these are folks that we've never had come to an ILCMA conference in the past. The opening keynote on Wednesday mornings, a guy named Peter Hegiyama. He's written a book, For the Love of Cities, and basically what he's going to be talking about is how we build emotional engagement with the places that we are in. Whether it's the place we grew up, whether it's a place we visited, and you have these vivid and wonderful memories, whether in so many of our cases, the places that we work. In my case, in Glencoe, I didn't grow up in this community. I live here now because I need to as part of my role as manager. But I've had the opportunity to kind of adopt it as my hometown, and I have a real emotional attachment to this place. And so Peter's going to be talking about the work that he's done in that area. I think it's going to be really inspiring. It's something that we all kind of talk about and talk around the edges of in terms of the places that we love. Sometimes the places that we love disappoint us. How do we deal with that? How do we continue to build that emotional attachment in a positive way to make our communities better? So I'm excited to see Peter speak. Our closing keynote is a guy named Eric McIlvaney. Eric is a veteran Marine. He lost a leg in an attack during his third tour of duty in Afghanistan. And through all of that, he became an endurance athlete. He's a Paralympian. He is a 10-time Ironman finisher. I can't even contemplate a one-time Ironman finisher for me. So the fact that he's gone back and done it 10 times, he's going to tell his story, and it's an inspirational one. And I think it's going to be a great send-off for us as we think about the challenges that we face. And we have many of them, right? It's a tough business that we're in. It's never been more important, the work that we do, and it does feel harder. And I was just having a conversation with some of my staff about that earlier this week, about how things have changed. And I think he's going to give us some real tools to take back with us as we come back to our communities, and do so more energized and excited to do that work. So yeah, I've got some great keynotes, excited about that. Sometimes we have a lunchtime keynote. This year, we're not going to do that. This year, instead, we are moving our awards ceremony to lunch on Wednesday. That's typically in the evening, the last night of the conference. But we wanted to be able to spotlight these award winners for the work that they have done to support our profession, to support the communities that we serve, to support one another. And that's going to be a really wonderful opportunity. So that's going to be during lunch on Wednesday instead of in the evening. So hopefully that's a time where we can all kind of be together and together be excited about the good work that our colleagues are doing.
Well, I always look forward to the award ceremonies. It's always kind of motivational to see what other people are doing and receiving recognition for. In these keynotes, not only do they strike a chord with me, they strike a chord with what I'm dealing with this week. Very relevant keynote speakers. I'm excited to hear these. Phil, real quick, some of the sessions during the conference, if you could pick a few, and it sounds like it was tough to narrow them down just to to get them all in. But if
Yeah.
you could pick a few to highlight, what are some of the highlights that you'd like to point out?
So as I said, kind of the theme of this conference is kind of finding a fresh approach to the fundamentals, the things that we're all dealing with regularly, the stuff that is critically important from a leadership standpoint and the work, right? The things that we're focused on. There are a few, and as I said, there's a lot of sessions. There are more than we've had ever before. It was hard to create this schedule to make it all fit, but we've done it, and I'm excited about it. And it gives a lot of opportunities for our members to engage. I mentioned this kind of in the preface early on. One of them is, fortifying your communications regardless of your capacity. I think the point of that, and we've got some great speakers that are coming at this from different size communities with different experiences, that even if you don't have a lot of staff, even if you don't have a dedicated person that can do all of your communications for you or kind of create that messaging, you still have to do it. Communication isn't optional. And there are easy ways to accomplish what you're trying to do. It doesn't need to be something that is so daunting that you can't figure out how to start it. So I'm looking forward to that session. Our afternoon breakouts on Wednesday are really going to be solid. There's one that's talking about kind of reimagining capital infrastructure planning. That is particularly important for all of our communities as we're seeing our aging infrastructure all starting to fail at the same time. In my community, while Glencoe's pretty old, we're about 155-year-old community. We're facing literally hundreds of millions of dollars of investment necessary over the next 20 or so years. How do you do that? And it's going to be a really solid session about how the team itself can help to facilitate and help our boards to find the paths toward actually accomplishing that critical infrastructure investment. And then Thursday morning, there's a session that I think, again, is particularly relevant in this day and age. And it's kind of a fun title, but it's not intended to be glib in any way. But the title is Narcissists, Psychopaths, and Bullies, Oh My, which Dr. David Morrison, who many folks know of through his work with the Midwest Leadership Institute and other things, is going to be talking about how a lot of these personality types are finding their way into our worlds, right? Whether they're being elected onto boards or they're serving in an unofficial capacity as the neighborhood spokesperson, or they're the one who is trolling every social media post that your community creates. They exist. They have to be, you have to be aware of them. You can't ignore them. And trying to build strategies and insights for managers and how to deal with it. I will speak from personal experience. I take some of those things very personally. It can keep me awake at night. And I think that's not helpful, by the way, for me, for the community that I serve, for my family, for my staff. How do you find ways to deal with that in a productive and in a productive way, such that it doesn't detract from what you're trying to do, but understands that kind of reality exists amidst all of the work that we're doing. So that's just a snapshot. Those are a few of the ones that I'm really excited about. But I'll say, as I said before, all of these sessions are going to be awesome. It's going to be hard, I think, for folks to kind of pick between them, because we do have there's several concurrent sessions. But I'm excited to see the crowd's reactions.
Well, Phil, you have me sold, especially, again, most of us on a May 1st fiscal year just went through a capital budgeting for the next foreseeable future. And the infrastructure workshop is so relevant to what I think just about every town is dealing with right now. In the last session that you mentioned, it's good to know that we're not the only town that has to deal with keyboard warriors on Facebook and then all sorts of trouble. So I'm excited for that session as well. So you have me sold. I can't wait. Phil, a couple highlights of some of the social activities that are going on, and then we'll kind of wrap things up. There's a golf outing that's part of this. And I know I've never golfed it, but I know there's a really great golf course over at Eagle Ridge. Tell us about and first of all, do you participate in the golf outing?
I do. That doesn't mean I'm good at it. It's just an opportunity, and I'm hoping to participate in the 18 hole tournament this year. These are scramble tournaments. Interestingly, we've got both a 9 hole and an 18 hole option because there are other learning opportunities that take place the first day of the conference on Tuesday. Both of the golf outings are Tuesday morning. Their shotgun start. The 9 hole is at Eagle Ridge East. That starts the shotgun is at 9 a.m. The 18 hole is at Eagle Ridge South, which is just a gorgeous golf course. That shotgun start is at 10 a.m. And then, as I said, we do have a pre-conference workshop, which is focused solely on AI, the new thing of virtually every conversation that I find myself in my organization. AI has found a way into those discussions, and that starts at 3 that afternoon. So if you want to go to the pre-conference session and you want to golf, you have those options available to you. It's a really lovely opportunity to be outside, outdoors in just an amazing physical space. So hopefully people can participate in that. And then the first night, so Tuesday night, we've had a barbecue that evening, and everyone gets together, and it's an opportunity to reconnect with friends who you haven't seen, to meet new people, as I've been talking about. That's what it's all about. So that's from 6 to 9 p.m. at the Eagle Ridge Owners Club, which is a little bit different. We're usually at the marina. This year, we can't be at the marina because there's some construction going on. So we'll be at the Owners Club. And then Wednesday night is the significant, large, hope everybody is there dinner event, which is taking place at the Highlands. The Highlands is actually the clubhouse as you drive into the Eagle Ridge Resort. It is right there and easy to get to. We'll have shuttles bringing people back and forth from the inn to that location. But we'll have dinner there. We will have some glow putt golf. There will be bags, the opportunity just to kind of decompress and be with your friends and colleagues. That starts at 6 p.m. on Wednesday evening. And then Thursday morning is really the end of the conference. We're all headed back by around noon, and it's really going to be a little different to kind of do that on Thursday instead of Friday, but I think that's a good thing.
I'll be able to get back to the office and get caught up on email. So
That's
Monday,
right. That's right. Yeah. Get those board packets out on Friday for anybody who's got to do that, or those Friday reports that they're sending to their elected officials. One thing to mention, Jim, you and I talked a little bit about this, right? You've never been to Eagle Ridge.
Yep.
I'm sure there are a lot of folks in ILCMA who've never been to Eagle Ridge, even though for a long time, Eagle Ridge was pretty much the only summer conference venue that we had. Now we try to move around the state more. Last year we were in Peoria. So one point of reference for folks is that maybe you don't know how lodging works at Eagle Ridge. They do have an inn. It's pretty small. I'll tell you, as of this recording, all of the inn rooms are booked that were in our room block. They also have small to large homes that are kind of interspersed throughout the territory, the Eagle Ridge territory. So those are great opportunities to share spaces with colleagues. It's actually pretty inexpensive to do so. Some of these homes are as large as 5 bedrooms. And so you can share that with 4 other colleagues to limit your overall cost to attend the event. They do have villas, which are kind of think of them as attached townhomes, where they're running from 1 to 3 bedrooms. Although I think all the 1 bedrooms are already spoken for. So again, I encourage folks to think of who you might want to share a space with. It's not quite the same as sharing a hotel room because you actually have your own space. You have a kitchen, you have living spaces and decks and all those opportunities to kind of bring some of your own food with you, even though you don't have to worry about that because we feed you for every meal. But it's another way of making the cost to attend this event less. We do have some overflow hotel rooms available at the Irish Cottage Inn. That information is likewise available on the ILCMA website, along with the conference registration and the room block information, the fees and costs for that. That, I will tell you, seems like it might be far away because it's not in the Eagle Ridge Resort area. It's a 7-minute drive from door to door, which is kind of the same of what you may have if you're staying in one of those private homes I was just talking about. So there are plenty of opportunities to stay with friends and colleagues, and to just make it more affordable for you to attend this conference.
ILCMA is a phenomenal organization. I'm proud to be a member, and all of us get great benefit from being a part of it. One of the benefits is the conference. So again, more information on ilcma.org. Phil, thank you so much for joining us today. In closing, was there anything else that I didn't bring up or that we need to mention?
I think we hit all the highlights. I want to just say I'm really, really excited about this event. I can't wait to see everybody there. Look forward to making some new connections, seeing some of my old pals, and just having the opportunity to be together and learn together. So look forward to seeing you all there. Jim, thanks for what you do in terms of putting these podcasts together. It's so important for our membership. It underscores kind of the depth and breadth of the people in ILCMA and the work that they do. I watch every episode, and I always learn something about people that I've known for years in some cases. So it's just great. Thank you for the time that you have dedicated to this.
Well, thank you very much, Phil. We'll see you in Galena next month.
Sounds like a plan. Thanks so much.
Well, that was a great interview. I know Phil, we've worked with Phil through Glencoe, and just a consummate leader, and was a great conference chair, led us all into developing a great conference offering for everybody. So you learned a little bit more about that. And wanted to real quick just let people know about some upcoming events. One is May 17th, pretty much the whole day, 8 to 4 p.m. is the Legacy Project Conference. And for those of you who don't know what the Legacy Project is, that's an organization that is always working to advance women in local government. So very educational, all-day conference. Check them out. You can find it on the ILCMA website on the calendar. And then also the Metro Managers Golf Outing. I know I'm registered to golf. That's Wednesday, the 22nd. That's pretty much an all-day affair as well. That's at White Pines Golf Course in Bensonville. So if you haven't registered for either one of those things and you're interested, just go to ilcma.org and click on calendar, and all the information is right there for you.
I'm excited. If I could take enough golf lessons this summer, next summer, I'll finally be good enough not to embarrass myself, and I could participate in some of these events.
Well, I think everyone gives you kind of a little bit of a break. I don't know that anyone's a huge professional, but I get that too. My father taught me how to golf. I remember I learned a little bit later, but there was a string of Sundays for 2 years in a row before I kind of went out amongst the general public. And there's you just need to practice a little bit, and there's also some kind of etiquette rules that you need to know. So probably get a little practice in, but you'll be great next year for sure.
Well, I'll tell you what, when I worked for the Public Works in Libertyville when I was in college, we had a little 9-hole par 3 in town, and it was owned by the village, so we got to play it for free. My golf game will never be that good again because I played almost daily. I was out on the course all the time, so
It's
I
hard.
need to figure out a way to play that much golf again. But what's cool, the ILCMA Golf Scramble coming up at Eagle Ridge Resort as part of the summer conference. It's a scramble, so it's best ball, which means I can probably get 1 or 2 holes where I do well, and then ride in the cart the rest of the time.
Yeah, you know what? The best ball is always kind of a nice little ease into it, and everyone's there to just have some fun too. So I'm doing 9 holes there. So
excellent. Well, Melanie, we could talk about golf all day, but we have another guest to intro. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your conversation with Jeff?
So I'll actually just let the interview tell the story itself. So why don't we go ahead and see this interview I did with Mr. Fiegenschuh from the city of Rochelle. Hi, everyone. I want to welcome you to ILCMA's Local Gov Stories podcast. I know usually we're doing this all digital, but today we are live in person.
It's great. I love it. Yes.
With Jeff Fiegenschuh.
So good. Yep.
Well, with the last name like Santostefano, I
Yeah.
take time to pronounce people's names
You
right.
did a great job.
Well, I'm here with Jeff, not only because I enjoy his company. I didn't take the hour and 10-minute drive from Arlington Heights to Rochelle just for fun.
And I wouldn't expect you to.
But I would.
you.
But I happened to be here earlier today. We did a crisis communications with your
Absolutely.
staff. Did you enjoy it?
I did, and my entire staff enjoyed it. You know, whenever you do a training like this, especially for some of your frontline department heads,
Yeah.
you get eye rolls like, what are we doing? They all enjoyed it. The mayor made comments about how enjoyable it was, and I would actually recommend your firm to anybody to utilize your services. It was a great
you.
time, and I enjoyed it.
It was. You know, crisis is an interesting thing because I do say I love crisis. I don't love the chaos of crisis, but I do love being able to help organizations to kind of get process through and order through chaos. It's very rewarding. And
Well, and you see the fruits of your labor, right? You see the end result, and when a community can manage and thrive through a crisis because of your help, wow, I made that organization's better off because of me, and I'm so glad I was part of that.
It is rewarding work. So now let's get to Jeff. So I like to say I've gotten to know Jeff a little bit, obviously, you know, leading up to the training.
Yeah.
And we serve on a committee together,
Yes.
The conference committee.
Conference committee.
We're
yeah.
going to have the conference, June 4th, 5th, and 6th. And this year, it's actually a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. As we all know, normally it's a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So
Right.
that's a little bit of a difference. You going to be there?
I am. I'm actually moderating two panels, and it's a great conference. I think it's www.ilcma.org is the website. If I have that wrong,
Yeah,
I
no, that's right.
apologize.
Yeah.
But please, if you haven't registered, I encourage people to do so. A lot of work went into this conference, and I think people are going to be very happy with the
Yes.
panelists.
Yes, I'm excited too. I'm moderating on a communications one. So it's going to be a great conference, and it's in Galena, which is one of my favorite places.
Sure.
And they have beautiful homes in the territory that me and 4 other ladies are renting a house.
Nice.
Are you staying in the hotel or what are you doing?
Well, I guess.
Get a house.
Should have rented a house.
Go to the territory.
I'm old school. I don't even think about that. I just say, hey, put me up in a hotel staff, and that's what they do.
All right. So look for us at the conference and be sure to register ilcma.org. And there's a button right there that says conferences. So we're here today to learn about Jeff, his role as city manager. And I want to say, in getting to know him, I really do feel like, first of all, I understand your commitment. I
sure.
love Jeff's leadership. He's going to talk about it. But also, the city of Rochelle, for those of you that don't know, I think this is a unicorn town. And what I mean by that is it has many, many unique things that with the municipalities that my firm normally works with, I haven't necessarily seen.
Yeah.
So we want to talk about kind of a day in your life, but also all the things that you oversee that are a little bit out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
And then I do want to talk about your leadership style, because I think that the way you look at leadership is something that I think people would be interested to hear about. So let's start. But first, you need to tell us about you. How did you get into local government?
So I grew up in Nebraska, and I remember talking to my mom as a kid about Marlon Ferguson, who was I'm from Sidney, Nebraska. We had a council manager form of government, so my mom would talk about Marlon, and I would that's how I kind of learned about city government. I remember when I was a kid, obviously I was seatbelted in, and I remember my mom pulling up to a drive-through, handing her money into this pay box, and I'm like, so are we at the bank? And she's like, no, we're at City Hall and we're paying our light bill. And so I don't know, I was a kid, and that kind of interested me. And then I decided I wanted to go to law school, and I decided ultimately that being a lawyer wasn't really for me. And I kind of tried to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. I'd always been interested in politics, and as the older I got, I lost my interest in politics, but continued my interest in policy and being involved in the policy side. So I was in graduate school at the University of Nebraska at Omaha, and I took a local government course, and the assignment was to shadow a city manager or city administrator for a day. So I shadowed Lowell Johnson, who was the city administrator in Wayne, Nebraska, which is where I went to Wayne State College, is where I earned my 4-year degree. And I just fell in love with it. He was so kind and nice to me, and just gave me he spent 8 hours with me that day, and I just followed him around the whole day. And I'm like, they have their own electric utility there. So I was like, wow, you get to run a city government. You're working with all these complex issues and policing and fire and staffing, but you also get to run a business. So yeah, I went home and told my wife at the time, hey, I think, I want to be a city manager. And she said, if that's what you want to do, let's go for it. And so my first job was in David City, Nebraska as an administrator, and it's kind of, everything's kind of led up to here in Rochelle. But I've been very blessed, and I've had a lot of really good people in my life to mentor me and lead me along the way.
Yeah, actually, we've talked about this in other episodes, but having people to just show you the way, kind of hold your hand and say, here's what I do, like, check it out. And even giving you the freedom to kind of think beyond what they do and like, do you see yourself in this? How would you handle it? Those are the types of people that help to set a trend for someone's life and even help to guide them along into the careers, such as happened with you.
For sure, and that's why I encourage people to go to like ILCMA and ICMA and other professional networking opportunities, because in my opinion, this is maybe not everybody agrees with this, but I think one of the best ways to grow is to learn from people. Surround yourself with good people and learn from other ideas. I know Danny Langloss was on a podcast a while ago. He's a very good friend of mine. And I love his concepts and ideas on leadership. I have some of his leadership sayings hanging up in my office, and I really believe in that and his passion for that. And I've learned so much from him. And when I was in Rantoul, I had the opportunity to work with Dorothy David, who's the past, I think, president of ILCMA and city manager in Champaign. Her and her assistant, Joan Walls, really kind of took me under their wings and were so, again, kind and nice to me. I learned so much from them. And again, being around great people and learning from them is the best way to improve your management and your leadership skills.
Absolutely. And it makes it for a nice day too, right? When you're just around people who are working together as a team. So let's talk a little bit about the unicornish nature of Rochelle. Tell us how Rochelle is unique. I have never heard of a town with all this stuff.
Oh yeah, we're very blessed. So we have our own electric utility. So Rochelle's a town of 9,500. If you're not familiar with us, we're about 15 miles west of DeKalb on 88 and 20 miles south of Rockford on 39. So we have the two major interstates that run through town, two major railroads that run through town. So ironically enough, we have our own short line railroad system in town. We have our own electric utility. We own our own advanced communication system, so we do fiber to businesses. We have a data center that we host co-location services for private businesses and websites. We also have our own phone system. And then we do your traditional services like police. We have our own fire department, but we're surrounded by a fire district, so we partner with the fire district, and then planning and zoning and all these things. We also have an airport, a landfill. A town of 9,500 with a $125 million budget. So it's a very complex organization, and that's why I think, as we get into this, we'll talk more about staff. That's why it's so important to have good, committed staff and making sure you have the right people in the right places. And I really credit them. They just help me keep this machine humming along. And it doesn't hurt to have a great mayor and city council. And I've been doing, and I'm not just saying this because I'm here, but because I've worked with a lot of good mayors and city council members. My mayor in Rantoul was an absolute amazing individual, Chuck Smith, great guy. But my mayor and city council here are the best I've ever worked with. They don't always agree, but they agree to disagree, and then they move on. And they really are committed to the community and moving the community forward, and they've been so supportive of staff. And I always tell the staff we take our direction from mayor and council and the policy direction they want to go. But this town is very, very blessed to have such a great, committed, elected leadership.
Yeah, it makes all the difference too, when actually the priorities of the community come first, and less about positioning and posturing and politics. So that's awesome. Talk a little bit about your downtown. You have a nice, cute little all-American apple pie downtown.
I think so. So when I was hired, the council listed out like 12 priorities they wanted the new city manager to focus on. And it's not the city manager's job. A city manager is only as effective as they are if they have great political leadership and great staff, right? And so all of our wins have been a team effort, and I've just been lucky to be in the position. But they wanted to commit to revitalizing the downtown. So when I came on staff, we did that. We started spending some money, and we started a facade improvement program, and we started refocusing our TIF dollars back into the downtown. And in that time, we've had a Kinney Farms distillery right across the street has invested, $9 million into our downtown. We have a couple of very cute boutiques that have opened up. My friend Matt Steddard started his tattoo shop here in town. Which,
Nice.
Yeah, he does great work. If you want looking for a good tattoo,
You got
talk to him.
tattoos?
I have multiple tattoos.
He's
yeah.
just not showing them
No,
right now.
no, not today. But yeah, the city's invested in the downtown, but you can only have success if you have private business that invests.
Yeah.
And so,
That's it.
we partner with the private businesses for that. But our TIF has really been a major help for that. With Mr. Seldell, he's a business owner and he works at a bank here in town. He bought half a block of property and has totally revitalized that area. Basically redid the buildings,
Wow.
all new brick facade and everything. Yeah.
That's great.
So it's been great. We're very blessed to have the downtown we have. We received a $1 million grant from the state of Illinois this year, and so last night at the council meeting we brought out the design concept that a committee's been working on for a downtown stage and band area, and that's about a $3 million project, and council was supportive of that. So
Wow.
yeah. Council said we want to revitalize the downtown, and they're putting their money where their priorities are. Yeah.
Yeah, there are some towns, we work with a lot where there is that hub, that like buzzing center, and others that don't have that, or others that it's just so old that it needs some freshening. It sounds
sure.
like yours has some real energy behind it. And then I know too that Rochelle has a lot of really great events. Will you talk
We do.
about that?
Well, so yeah, we're an event-driven community.
Yeah.
The city doesn't really host them as much anymore. Jenny Thompson she works very closely with other groups, but it's really driven by the community.
Yeah.
The chamber, we have a Cinco de Mayo celebration that's generated by Rosie Artiega, one of our council people, and her group of volunteers. So it's really volunteer-driven. So we are there as a partner, as a catalyst to help out, but it's really driven by those local volunteers because it's their events, and we just want to be there to support them.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's always good to have events to draw people to see the businesses downtown, and then they remember, oh, I want to check out that boutique, or what about that, bar restaurant you were talking about?
Scale House, and then I know you ate lunch at Luna today, which is down
very
by
lovely.
the golf course.
It's on the golf course.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous. I've been there twice.
Yes,
Excellent food.
it was good. Yeah, it's great.
Shout out for Luna.
Yeah.
They actually gave us a free dessert today.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, I asked for. I'm gonna sidebar on our salad. I ordered a salad, and it's how sometimes you order a salad
Yeah.
and the lettuce is huge, and you have to be chopping. So I asked the lady. Asked the waitress. I said, will you take it back and chop it? And she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry you're unhappy. I'm like, oh, no, it's okay. Forget it. You don't have to go do that. And so she said, I'm so sorry about the salad. And they brought us out a free dessert. It was really good. So you should check out Luna.
But you need so Luna's great, but Scale House, Kenny Farms Distillery, all these places, all these folks have invested millions of dollars into the downtown. So again, the city, I've always told our council, we don't necessarily bring in business. We certainly don't start businesses. We create an environment that's conducive for economic growth.
Right.
And I think that's what we've done.
Yeah. And, I don't know that all municipalities are doing that. I don't, there's varying levels of support for business. I know some have the thought that maybe, business, take care of yourself. We're over here doing the services.
Yeah.
But it's nice when you see that connection, because there is a connection. Your sales tax dollars, no empty storefront. So it really does feel like there's more energy if you can find some sort of connectedness between, municipality and businesses.
Yeah, I can't speak for any other community. I can only tell you that I don't know how a city survives without a strong retail, commercial business base, because they pay taxes, and our organization doesn't exist without those tax dollars. So I think we have an obligation to support our business community, because without them, we don't survive. And who would want to be in a community without a thriving business sector?
Yeah, I know for me, I live in Palatine and I love our downtown, and it's nice to be able to just walk around, grab an ice cream or a coffee, and just kind of enjoy your.
We got a new ice cream shop that's
you
opening
do?
up
Oh,
pretty
that's
soon,
great.
so we're
Good.
excited, yeah.
Ice cream.
Yeah.
There's so many things here in
For
Rochelle.
sure.
So I do want to talk about your leadership. I really respect your approach on it. We've had conversations about this before.
Yeah.
So tell everyone a little bit about how you manage your team, and I'll say partner, because the impression I got from you is that you really, it's kind of like Knights of the Round Table. Like, you sit there and you're wanting to hear your people. You're wanting to hear their thoughts and encourage them to bring their views to leadership. So talk a little bit.
Well, so my ideas on leadership have evolved over time. Everybody always says we want to be servant leaders and include people. Unfortunately, sometimes our egos get in the way, right? And we become kind of controlling. And I've really tried to steer away from that. The two best leadership courses I've ever taken, well, three. The Senior Executive Institute that ICMA used to, I think they're still part of. It was the University of Virginia. And then the Gettysburg Institute by ICMA. And then this last year I went to the Athenian program, which is partially, it's not hosted by ICMA, they're a partner, but the College of Charleston. And I mean, I believe that my job is to foster leadership within the organization. I really believe that if at the end of the day, the only thing that people remember about me is the organization was better after I left than it was before I came. That's the highest compliment I could ever be paid. Yeah. But city managers don't know everything. Our job, in my opinion, is to be a generalist and to, we oversee the day-to-day, but actually our job is to be the communications between the staff and the council and just make sure everything's humming along. It's really the frontline staff to get everything done and do all the work. And so I would never pretend to know any more about running an electric utility than my electric superintendent. So I have an obligation to listen to him, but he also might have ideas on the downtown project. So why wouldn't I not listen to him, and vice versa with other staff? I've told my staff, every department's success is built on other departments' success. If the police department is successful and the fire department is not, then it's going to cause problems for the police department. So we have an obligation to help each other out and support each other. But I think everybody has a voice in the organization. I certainly don't know everything, and some of the best ideas that have come from our organization did not come from me. They came from staff. I know my strengths and weaknesses. I am not an ideas guy. I'm tenacity. I'm the person who's going to implement stuff and get it done. So why would I pretend to have all the ideas? But I do believe that we have our staff is my left arm and my right arm, and I'm left-handed. I could not do my job without Jenny. She's an amazing individual.
Or your left hand in particular, right?
Particular, yeah. So we lean on those folks, and then, but also leadership is also outside of the organization, right? And so asking questions from your residents and your community members. How are we doing? What could we do to improve our services? What are we doing that isn't right in your opinion? And so I think we need to listen to that and take it into consideration. Because we are public, as you said earlier, we're public servants, and our job is to provide good services and ensure that our residents have a good quality of life.
Yeah. And I can say, just by being here we had 15 members of your staff with us today when we did the training, and I felt the energy of your team. Yeah, and I'm sure, when you and I talked about the training, you felt this was important for your organization, so I'm sure you communicated that, right? But I felt like everyone wanted to be there. Everyone was present. We had questions and conversation and dialogue, and you feel a very solid, positive energy from your team.
Yeah, I love my staff. Yeah. I mean that. It doesn't mean we always agree with everything, but I do love them to death. They're amazing people. One of the things I've tried to do as I've matured in my career is listen more and talk less. I found that, especially as the city manager or the CEO of the organization, or CAO or whatever your position title is, if you come in and talk, sometimes people's opinions are formed on your opinion because you're the manager and we got to listen to them. I try to listen more because I really think people are willing to share their ideas if it's not quote unquote corrupted by my ideas. I want them to really give an honest opinion or assessment of a program we're working on or a policy initiative without me, my opinion swaying them one way or the other. So I try to listen more, and I think that that has helped me.
Absolutely. Well, is there anything else that you would like to tell our lovely audience about the city of Rochelle, or you?
Well, not about me. I'm blessed to have my job. I love my career. I love Illinois. I love Rochelle. I hope I can retire from here. I would just compliment you and everybody at the ILCMA. This podcast is wonderful. I'm so glad you're doing it. There's a lot of good talent out across the state that I'm sure you'll be interviewing. But promoting the profession and promoting professional government management is very important to me, because I do, in my heart of hearts, believe that government is, having paid professionals run the day-to-day is the best way to go. And that's nothing against, that takes nothing away from our wonderful elected officials. Sure. They do a great job as setting the policy and being our ambassadors. But I love that you guys are promoting this and encourage others to reach out to you and try to get on the podcast and share your opinions. But thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's one of our, the pillars of the podcast pillars. One of those is about ensuring that people understand how valuable of a position, an important position that not only managers, but the entire, organization in making sure that cities run. I always say, it's not magic, people, right? This is work, planning, vision, strategy. I always say it's entrepreneurial. As you said, you have to be a generalist. Yeah. You also have to know where to put your people, right? And it sounds like you, and I felt it today. Your people are in the right place. People are happy, they're motivated, and that's obviously a reflection of your leadership here.
And if they tell me that there's somewhere else that, hey, maybe I've had staff when we've done some reorganization offer suggestions that I went with. Sometimes I didn't, sometimes I did. But I just love the fact that they feel comfortable offering their opinions. And like I said, I don't know everything. My job is just to make sure that the city continues to run, and I've got the greatest team in the world to help make sure that gets done.
Absolutely. So, well, awesome. We learned about Jeff.
Yeah.
We learned how to say his last name right.
Yeah.
We learned about how he got into local government and Rochelle and its unique, features.
All the wonderful characteristics that make a small town great.
Yeah.
The only thing I'm a little bummed about is I wanted to do Zoom because I had my Star Wars background. And everybody gets to see it.
Yeah, if for those of you that have been on committees with Jeff, you know that there's always the Star Wars background. Next podcast, we'll get if we do it in person, we'll get a screen up.
There we go.
We need the Star Wars background.
Screen.
Anyway, thank you for joining us today, and check us out next time, everybody. See you later. Bye.
Well, Melanie, that was fantastic. I met Jeff Fiegenschuh a couple years ago at ILCMA Winter Conference. He's a great guy, great city manager. And Melanie, that was a great interview. Good job. Thank you.
I definitely enjoyed it. So what do we need to talk about? We need to talk about conference one last time. So if you haven't registered, spaces are filling up. You remember the winter conference, it's sold out. So, and this one's at Eagle Ridge in Galena, which everybody not many people love to go to. So sign up today.
Beautiful part of the state, beautiful resort. Galena's beautiful, beautiful town. So Melanie, both you and I will be there, right?
I will be there. Yep. We've got I'm moderating a session called Build Your Comms No Matter What Your Capacity. So we're talking with 3 different communities, from one that totally outsources to one that has one person that handles it to one that actually has a department with a head and an associate in it. So we're kind of giving the full gamut of how to make sure that your comms communications are built as strong as they can be, because everybody wants information. And if we aren't providing it, the Facebook warriors are. So we must be communication warriors before they become warriors.
Well, I can't wait. So Winter Conference, June 4th through the 6th, Tuesday through Thursday, and registration open right now, ilcma.org.
Yes. And one last thing, I think just if anyone's out there watching and you have a story, reach out to us. Actually, just reach out to Dawn Peters. I believe everyone has her email, probably on speed email, because she sends out emails on behalf of ILCMA. So just reach to Dawn and put yourself up to be interviewed on our podcast. We're looking for people from all around Illinois. We want to make sure that we're representing a great cross section of all the leaders throughout our great state. So if you're interested in being on the podcast, please reach out and we would love to have you.
Well, Melanie, that does it. It's a wrap on our 4th episode, ILCMA Local Gov Stories. See you next time.
See you next time.